Do you remember when the news felt real? From the literal feel of the newspaper in your hands, the smudges of newsprint on your fingertips, the content on those pages that felt relevant to your life. There was the latest on the school board race, the intrigue at city council, an update on that road construction project we've been driving around for months. When are they going to finish that thing? And most importantly, how much is it going to cost us as taxpayers? There was the fun stuff too. The comics, the horoscopes, the coupons, what's on tap at the local playhouse this weekend. And oh look, there's a cool story about a kid we've all known since grade school who just won a scholarship. We always knew she'd go far. And the box scores from the high school games that weekend. Back then, we were all rooting for the same team. Local news was the fabric of our community. But over time, that fabric began to fray, causing cracks that allowed our connectivity, our humanity, to slip right through. Well, I wanted back that feeling of community, and I believe that we can get it back by opting back into local news. I grew up east of the river in Washington, D.C., in the shadow of monuments and museums that represented a world that felt far beyond my reach. Local news is what brought that world home to me. It's how I learned to read, how I became a spelling bee champ. That's good. Clap for that. It's also how I paid for college. A scholarship from the owner of the local paper paved the way for my journalism career. I graduated from the University of Maryland's Journalism School in the year 2000. I know, hard to believe because I'm only 21. I was a prodigy. It was the beginning of this new thing called the internet, and newspapers, in a rush to adopt the new technology, put all of their content online for free. It was a fateful decision. Remember the movie The Terminator? You know, the Arnold Schwarzenegger sci-fi classic with the deadly robot sent from the future by a computer named Skynet that was hell-bent on destroying the world as we knew it? If you haven't seen it in a while, you should give it a rewatch because it holds up with its moral about the hubris of man in engineering our own demise by surrendering our humanity to the machines and not realizing our mistake until it was too late. For the news business, the internet was our Skynet moment. We didn't realize that the machines would soon turn against us. I remember as a young reporter sitting in the newsroom, watching our advertising and circulation numbers tank, and thinking to myself, this is what it must have felt like in the last days of the telegraph office. By putting all of our content online for free, we conditioned generations of readers to think that the news should be free. Well, folks, as the saying goes, you get what you pay for. But just what are we getting? And most importantly, what are we losing? Every week, in communities all across America, newspapers are vanishing. They're disappearing at a rate of more than 2 newspapers per week, according to the Medill Local News Initiative. That's 3,200 newspapers gone in the last 20 years. According to Rebuild Local News, more than 1,000 US counties, 1 in 3, don't have even one full-time journalist covering their community. Here's what that math means for our society. No local news equals a lack of vital information about what's going on in our communities. We turn to national news or social media, which focuses on our divisions. Multiplied by the craziness of our times, the negative noise becomes too much and we subtract ourselves from the news and information equation. Okay, that's about all the math you're gonna get from a journalism major. Okay. The point is, the decline of local news has created a void, a vacuum, that is sucking out all the good from our daily discourse. And it's making us more disconnected and disaffected than ever. Research shows that the closure of newspapers and the rise of news deserts, areas that lack consistent local news reporting, leads to a decline in civic participation. Quite simply, when we know less about what's going on in our communities, we care less, and we stop caring about each other. Remember the Skynet analogy? Well, the sequel to the internet was social media, sold to us as the great equalizer, democratizing media for the masses. Plot twist, the algorithms that were supposed to unite us instead began to silo and segregate us, locking us in echo chambers of acrimony. We stopped seeing ourselves as we truly are, and instead, through the lens of that uncle we avoided the cookout, you know him, or the professional provocateurs peddling in poison, or the army of bots that have us arguing in circles with ourselves. Those algorithms also began to suppress real news, local news, to the point that the chorus of crazy were the loudest voices in the space. But I know that the most visible and vocal and often vicious among us don't really reflect us, and they're making us sick. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, high levels of social media use, particularly frequent postings, is associated with greater irritability, right? And according to UC Davis Health, social media can negatively impact our overall well-being by contributing to feelings of anxiety, depression, and loneliness, particularly among teens and young adults. Feel familiar? Well, I believe that we are better than our baser instincts, that our better angels are calling on us to flip the script. Local news is how we can begin to reclaim our narrative. And I'm happy to report that local news is having a renaissance. It's a reboot, actually, aiming to be better than the original. All across the country, local news outlets are sprouting, powered by news entrepreneurs. These outlets are working in the greatest traditions of journalism to keep communities informed and connected, telling stories about real people for real people. And they're making an impact. One great example is Block Club Chicago, a nonprofit news outlet that launched through a crowdfunding campaign that has become a national model for local news. Block Club ran the story of renowned Chicago choreographer Randy Duncan, who long suffered from chronic kidney disease and was in need of a transplant. An Oak Park woman, Renata Davis, read Randy's story, and after learning she was a match, donated her kidney so he could dance again. That's the power of local news. Right here in the North Shore, you have The Record, which, great outlet, which, much like Block Club, rose from the ashes of commercial media to become an award-winning source of local news. They're doing the kind of bread and butter journalism that feeds communities. The rebuilding of local news is made possible in part by philanthropic efforts like Press Forward, the national initiative to revitalize local news. I'm a proud member of the steering committee for Press Forward Chicago, the local chapter that is working to build a broad coalition of supporters to invest in local news right here at home. "16 years ago, I hung up my press pass and walked away because I didn't see a way forward for this field. I stand here today, full circle, as deeply invested in local news as I have ever been. But I need your help. Local news needs your help. Philanthropy alone can't save local news. It's going to take the commitment and investment of all of us who believe in the vital role that local news plays in our communities to step up and support it. So, what can you do? Subscribe. Fact gathering isn't free, and local news outlets are doing it on a shoestring budget. Your support could be transformative for them. Give. Many local news outlets are nonprofits, making your gift tax deductible. Add 1 or 2 to your end-of-year giving list. Maybe throw in a couple of gift subscriptions to round out your holiday shopping. Equipping your friends and family with the news they need to be engaged and informed residents, that's the gift that keeps on giving. And share. Sharing stories from local news outlets, either by social media or word of mouth, is critical validation for the work. In many cases, we are the most trusted messengers in our social circles. Leveraging our personal credibility can be some of the best currency in supporting local news. And in today's discourse, credibility has never been more important. In an era in which expertise and knowledge are being devalued, we all have a role to play in platforming the kind of fact-based information that local news provides. Yes, we do. Thank you, whoever that was. A good rule of thumb here: the closer your news source is to you, the more credible it's likely to be. The farther away, the harder it is to verify, the greater the chances for misinformation and disinformation. When you care enough to share the very best, homegrown news is your best bet. Now, when I say homegrown, I don't mean in somebody's mama's basement. I mean local news by local reporters who are part of your communities and who bring with them the credibility and accountability that proximity provides. So like, post, share, flood the zone with good information to drown out the noise and the chorus of crazy. Local news is how we can begin to reknit our community ties and rebuild a new public square forged by what unites us rather than what divides us. Join this movement with me, and let's build together.